I'm just curious, as people, individuals, whether it be me, you, or anyone, wants to build something, wants to have a goal, an aim, as you talk about, and go after this thing that they care about and share their opinions, share their voice, have good intentions. Maybe someone doesn't like those intentions, but have good intentions. Is how do we, as human beings, think about reputation? And does reputation even matter anymore if anyone can try to tear your reputation down? Should we be focused on having a good reputation?
Yes.
Or, okay. And how do we protect
but you
the
should be,
reputation
you should be more focused on deserving a good reputation.
What does that mean?
Don't do things you know to be wrong.
And even if
don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't be careless. Especially if you're. See, I'm fortunate, I suppose. I put all my lectures online. So virtually everything I've ever said to a student is, obviously not, but a non-biased sample of everything that I've ever said to students is available. Well, it hasn't come back to bite me.
Right.
And that's hundreds of hours. Why? Well, because I've been fortunate enough not to have said anything fatal. And, maybe that's because I'm careful with my words. I don't want to attribute too much virtue to myself in relationship to that. I know that good fortune plays an immense role in how things turn out for people, and that you can get unlucky. But, one rule I didn't write down is act so that you can speak of what you do. So there's two domains of lying, right? So one lie is a statement, the other lie is an action. You know it's wrong. You do it anyway. It looks to me like that's becoming riskier and riskier.
Right. People aren't doing that anymore because they're getting caught.
Yes, and the consequences are dire. Well, but then you think about this. You tell me what you think about this. One of the things that Carl Jung taught me, again, was that, as we become more technologically powerful, the quality of our individual morality becomes an increasingly pressing social concern, because if each of us are far more powerful than we once were, for good and for evil. And so with this technological prowess comes an associated ethical demand. And I don't see a flaw in that argument. I don't see how that can be anything other than true. If technology multiplies your power, then it multiplies the cataclysmic consequences of your own immorality.
Right. And if you did one thing 10 years ago and someone finds it, it could haunt you, it seems like, is what's happening.
There's no doubt about that. Not only could it, it will.
It will.
In all likelihood. And that's a problem too, because of course people do make mistakes. And I'm perfectly pleased that my teenage years aren't stored on YouTube, for example. It must be terrifying.
You've been gone a long time ago.
Well, it must be terrifying to be a teenager now, knowing that your drunken foolishness at a party could become the next viral YouTube video.
I was lucky enough I've never been drunk in my life. And that was a conscious decision because my brother actually went to prison for drugs when I was a kid. And I was in a prison visiting room many weekends for many years and witnessing the consequences of doing certain things. So for me, I was like, I don't want to touch any of this stuff. I don't even care if it's like, I'm not going to sell it, but I'm never going to take anything. And but it doesn't mean that I didn't do bad things. Like, I cheated, I lied, I stole, I did all these things that I'm not proud of when I was 10 to 13 until I got caught. And I was like, oh, my actions actually affect a lot of people. And I remember the shame.
Well, it's normative behavior. If you look at adolescents, imagine there are adolescents who break rules all the time, including legal rules. Okay, well, they tend to become criminal. It's too much. But then at the opposite end of the distribution are adolescents who don't break any rules, and they tend to develop internalizing disorders, depression, anxiety disorders, that sort of thing. So they're too constrained. So there is a certain amount of exploration of rule breaking that's a normative part of healthy development. And but now, you could take a chunk of that, a video of it, a record of it, and it's permanent. Can you imagine not being able to forget your past?
Painful.
So
painful. And not even you forgetting it, but the world knowing your past, seeing it or witnessing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and sort of unexpectedly and at any moment.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your greatest fear with the fame and the acknowledgement that you have at the level of you have it? What's the greatest fear you have moving forward? Or
that I'll do something to that I'll betray the people that I've been speaking to with, that I'll be insufficient to the challenge in some manner.
Yeah.
Ethically, particularly, but more than that, even just physiologically, let's say. So that's definitely it.
Did you ever have a goal to impact this many people? Was that part of your life's mission, that I want to reach more people than outside of the classroom and, sell 5 million copies of my books and be so well known that you are? Was that ever a mission, or was it always just, I want to learn and teach, and if 10 people watch, great. If 10 million people watch, great.
I probably knew. I knew when I was working on my Maps of Meaning book that I was, look, I tried to write about the most serious problem I could find in the most serious way I could manage. And I thought, well, if this is a serious problem and I'm addressing it seriously, it's probably a serious endeavor and will have the consequences of that, whatever those might be. And when I started to lecture about what I had been thinking about and learning about, the impact was obvious and unique in some sense. I mean, my lectures, the most typical response I got from students in my classes was, especially in the class on my first book, Maps of Meaning, was, this course changed how I looked at everything. And I would say,
my life, the world, the universe, God. Everything.
Yeah. Or they'd say, well, I've learned all these things. I don't know how to talk about them with anyone else, which was the same sort of thing. And a lot of the public commentary on my work it's similar to that. But, in some sense, that wasn't a surprise, because what I learned changed the way I looked at things completely too. Completely, 100, like completely, in a revolutionary way. And so, and I had a sense of that from, I don't know how old, very young.
You had a sense
4, 5,
you had
young.
You had a sense that your life would impact millions of people?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it kind of like an inner dialogue or an inner calling or something that was...
It's like a dream.
Yeah.
Sort of. Or the memory of a dream.
That's crazy.
Look, I talked to Jocko Willink the other day. I'm looking forward to releasing that. It was such a good conversation. I had such a good conversation with him. He made this immensely tough person, tough guy.
Very.
He knew he wanted to be a soldier from the time he was like 3.
Wow.
And he said, and don't be thinking that it was for any high noble reasons. He's quite funny, but
I just
he would just
destroy.
He states, it's like, this is my character. This is who I am. It's me. And with my kids, I could see who they were. They were the same person right from the time they were born.
Wow.
Like, they developed and unfolded and all of that, but It was the unfolding of something that was there. It was the
Wow.
bringing of something there to light. It's shocking and surprising to me constantly, and exactly what I expected at the same time.
Yeah.
And that seems completely paradoxical. It's sort of like one part of me knew and accepts it, and the other part is too old and too much the way that I was to adapt to it.